Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're going deep on Tara Brach's radical compassion.
This is a good one.
Yeah, it really is. I'm excited to dive into this with you because, really, who couldn't use a bit more self-love,
Absolutely.
more peace in their lives?
Yeah.
Like, really. And
Yeah.
Brach offers a path toward that.
Brock argues that resisting our difficult emotions, it just makes our suffering worse.
Totally.
Instead, she offers this practice called RAIN.
Okay.
Recognize, allow, investigate, nurture
Okay.
as a way to kind of untangle ourselves from that emotional knot.
I love that. Okay, so let's unpack rain a little bit.
Yes, let's.
So Brach tells this story in the book, and it's so relatable. She's catching herself mentally prepping for a talk on love. But while she's doing that, she's completely missing these precious moments with her mother. And she calls this being in a trance. Have you ever had a moment like that where you're so lost in your head that you miss what's right in front of you?
All the time. It's the human condition, I think, in a lot of ways.
Right?
Brack describes trance as like getting hooked,
Mhm.
by worries, judgments, a constant striving for something more.
Yeah.
And in that trance, we disconnect from our naturally caring heart.
Yes.
We lose sight of what truly matters.
It's so true. It's like we're sleepwalking through life.
Yeah.
But how does rain help us wake up?
Well, it's about turning towards those difficult emotions, right? Instead of running away. So the first step is recognize. That's simply noticing what's present. Like, say you're feeling anxious. Instead of pushing it down, you just acknowledge it.
Okay.
Anxiety is here.
No judgment, just acknowledging. Allowing anxiety to just hang out doesn't sound very relaxing.
That's the thing. Allowing it doesn't mean liking it.
Right.
It just means creating space for the feeling without resistance.
Okay.
Brack uses this analogy of saying yes to the emotion.
Okay.
And that can feel risky.
Yeah.
But that willingness to be present with it, that's where transformation begins.
So, okay, say I'm trying to allow anxiety. What does that actually look like? Do I just sit there and freak out?
It's more about shifting your internal posture from one of fighting to one of acceptance.
Okay.
It's like, imagine holding your hand over a flame.
Yeah.
If you tense up, it's going to hurt more.
Yeah.
But if you can relax your hand, you can still feel the heat.
Right.
But the suffering lessens. It's the same with emotions.
That's a really helpful image.
Yeah.
So I'm recognizing the anxiety. I'm trying to allow it. What's the next step in rain?
Investigate. Here you turn towards the anxiety with curiosity. What sensations are you noticing in your body? What thoughts are kind of swirling around? What are the underlying beliefs fueling this anxiety?
It's like becoming a detective of your own inner world.
And then comes the most important part. This is where self-compassion enters the picture. You're offering kindness, understanding, and care to whatever you've uncovered.
So if I discover that my anxiety is rooted in a fear of failure, I wouldn't berate myself for feeling that way. Instead, I would try to offer myself understanding and support.
Precisely. It's like you're offering a soothing balm to your wounded heart. It might be as simple as placing your hand on your heart and saying, it's okay to feel this way.
This resonates with me so much because Brach talks about how our negative beliefs, while they feel so real, might not actually be true.
Right.
It's like we forget our inherent goodness beneath all these layers of self-doubt and criticism.
She uses a powerful metaphor. The golden Buddha statue.
Oh.
Initially, it was covered in clay. And for centuries, people thought it was just a clay statue until a piece chipped off, revealing the gold beneath. And it's a reminder that our true nature, our gold, is always there, even if it's obscured by layers of painful experiences and limiting beliefs.
So how do we start chipping away at that clay, those beliefs that are real but not true?
Rain is the chisel. Let me tell you about Sophia.
Okay.
She was plagued by self-criticism, constantly berating herself for not being good enough. Through Rain, she began to see that these beliefs, while real in their impact, weren't an accurate reflection of her worth.
So she used rain to investigate those beliefs, to see where they came from, and to offer herself compassion.
Exactly. She started recognizing that critical voice in her head, allowing the pain it caused to be there without judgment. Then she investigated the roots of that voice, discovering it stemmed from childhood experiences of feeling inadequate.
How did she start offering compassion to that part of herself?
She began to access her wisest, kindest self, almost like tapping into an inner source of wisdom and love. Instead of berating herself, she began offering words of comfort and encouragement, recognizing her inherent goodness.
So through rain, she was able to start seeing herself in a new light, more compassionate and loving light.
Precisely. It didn't erase the painful experiences or the beliefs, but it allowed her to relate to them differently,
Right.
to hold them with more compassion and understanding.
And it highlights how this practice can lead to real, tangible shifts in
Yeah.
how we see ourselves and the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like learning to befriend ourselves, even those parts that we'd rather push away.
Totally.
And as our own hearts soften, we naturally become more capable of offering that same kindness to others.
It's funny you say that because when I think of compassion, I usually think of like being kind to others,
Right.
not necessarily to myself.
That's so common, though.
Is it?
Yeah. We're often much harder on ourselves than we would ever be on a friend.
Yeah.
But Brach argues that self-compassion is the foundation
Right.
for all other forms of compassion. It's like the first ripple in a pond, creating waves that extend outwards.
So as we cultivate more self-compassion, it becomes easier to extend compassion to others,
Absolutely.
even those who might be difficult to deal with.
Absolutely. Remember Brach's concept of unreal others?
Oh, yeah.
It's that human tendency to dehumanize people we see as different or threatening.
Right.
We create these mental caricatures,
Yeah.
stripping away their complexity and reducing them to stereotype.
Especially when I'm stressed or feeling judgmental.
We all have.
Yeah.
It's an ancient survival mechanism, this us versus them mentality.
Right.
But in today's world, it fuels so much division and conflict.
Totally.
Brach challenges us to wake up to those moments when we're othering someone and to remember their humanity.
It's like taking a step back and asking, what's it like to be in their shoes?
Yeah.
What might they be struggling with? What might have shaped their perspective?
Exactly. And this is where rain can be so powerful. Instead of judging or criticizing someone, we can use rain to understand their experience. We can recognize what might be happening for them emotionally, allow their experience to be as it is, investigate their perspective with curiosity, and then nurture a sense of care and understanding.
It's like using rain as a bridge to connect with someone
Yeah.
instead of a wall to separate us.
Beautifully put. It's about shifting from a stance of judgment and separation to one of empathy and connection.
Yeah.
And that shift can be so transformative, not just for our relationships, but for our own inner peace.
Speaking of transformation, Ross talks about the power of forgiveness.
I understand forgiveness can be a challenging concept, especially for those who've experienced trauma or harm. Brach emphasizes that forgiveness is not about condoning harmful actions or minimizing the pain that's been caused.
Right.
It's about freeing ourselves from the grip of resentment and bitterness, creating space for healing and peace.
So it's not about saying, it's okay that you hurt me, but rather I'm choosing to release the anger and resentment I'm holding on to.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that the person who hurt us is also a human being, flawed and imperfect, just like all of us. Their actions, while hurtful, were likely driven by their own pain, fear, or confusion.
It doesn't excuse their behavior,
Right.
but it allows for a deeper level of understanding.
And that understanding can be a powerful catalyst for healing, both for ourselves and for our relationships. Brach reminds us that forgiveness is not a one-time event,
Okay.
but a process that may unfold gradually over time. It's about softening our hearts, cultivating understanding, and releasing the grip of anger and resentment.
It's like we're slowly loosening the knots that bind us to the past, creating space for more peace and freedom in the present.
And sometimes forgiveness may involve setting boundaries, protecting ourselves, or simply choosing to distance ourselves from the person who's hurt us. It's about doing what's best for our own well-being while still holding space for compassion.
That's such an important point. Compassion doesn't mean being a doormat
Right.
or tolerating harmful behavior.
Exactly.
It's about recognizing our own worth and prioritizing our own healing.
Absolutely. And speaking of prioritizing our own well-being, let's circle back to self-compassion.
Okay.
Brach highlights how many of us struggle with that inner critic,
Yeah.
that voice that constantly berates us and points out our flaws. It's like we have a distorted mirror reflecting back a flawed and incomplete image of ourselves.
Oh, I know that voice all too well. It makes it hard to see my own goodness, my own worth.
It's like we're wearing a pair of glasses that only magnify our shortcomings and filter out all the positive qualities.
Yeah.
And those distorted perceptions can hold us back from living fully and authentically.
So how do we start to see ourselves through a more compassionate lens? How do we quiet that inner critic and embrace our own worth?
Brach offers a number of practices to cultivate self-compassion. One is simply to be mindful of that critical voice, to notice when it arises and to challenge its validity. Is it speaking the truth? Or is it simply repeating old ingrained patterns of self-doubt?
It's like saying, hold on a minute, inner critic.
And another powerful practice is to offer ourselves the same kindness, understanding, and patience that we would offer to a dear friend.
Okay.
Imagine a friend is struggling with self-criticism.
Okay.
What would you say to them?
Yeah.
How would you comfort and support them?
I'd probably remind them of all their wonderful qualities, their strengths, their inherent goodness.
Yeah.
I'd encourage them to be gentle with themselves and to focus on their progress, not their perceived shortcomings.
Precisely. And we can offer ourselves those same words of encouragement and support.
Right.
It might feel awkward at first, but with practice, it becomes more natural.
It's like we're rewiring our brains for self-compassion, creating new neural pathways of kindness and understanding.
Exactly. And remember, self-compassion is not about being perfect or never making mistakes.
Right.
It's about embracing our imperfections and offering ourselves the same grace and forgiveness that we would extend to anyone we love.
That makes so much sense. It's about letting go of the need to be perfect and embracing the messy, imperfect beauty of being human.
Beautifully said. And as we cultivate that sense of self-acceptance, it naturally radiates outwards, impacting our relationships and our interactions with the world. We become more patient, more understanding, more compassionate towards others.
It's like that ripple effect we were talking about earlier. Self-compassion creates a wave of kindness that spreads outwards, touching and transforming everything in its path.
Exactly. And that brings us to a beautiful and powerful practice that Brach highlights the power of mirroring.
How does mirroring play a role in cultivating compassion, both for ourselves and for others?
Mirroring is all about reflecting back to someone their strengths, qualities, and inherent goodness.
Okay.
It's about seeing the gold in others even when they might be struggling to see it themselves.
It's like holding up a mirror that reflects back their true nature, their beauty, their worthiness.
Precisely. And Brach emphasizes that positive mirroring is essential for healthy development, particularly in childhood.
Yep.
When children receive consistent messages of love, acceptance, and appreciation, it nourishes their sense of self-worth and lays the foundation for secure attachments and healthy relationships.
But what happens when we don't receive that positive mirroring?
Unfortunately, when children are met with criticism, judgment, or neglect, it can create deep-seated insecurities, limiting beliefs, and a distorted sense of self.
Right.
It's like those funhouse mirrors that make you look tall and skinny or short and wide.
Yeah.
We internalize those distorted images and start to believe that they represent our true selves.
And those distortions can stay with us for years,
Mhm.
impacting our relationships,
Yeah,
our self-esteem, our ability to live authentically and joyfully.
absolutely.
So how can we heal those wounds of distorted mirroring?
Brach emphasizes that even as adults, we can still benefit from positive mirroring.
Okay.
It's about seeking out relationships with people who see our goodness, who appreciate our strength, and who reflect back to us our inherent worth. It's like finding those mirrors that show us a clear, accurate, and loving reflection of ourselves.
It's about surrounding ourselves with people who remind us of our own beauty and worthiness. And as we experience that positive mirroring, it gradually helps to heal those old wounds of self-doubt and insecurity. It allows us to see ourselves through more compassionate eyes. And as we become more compassionate towards ourselves, it naturally extends outwards, making it easier to offer that same kindness and understanding to others.
It's a beautiful cycle of healing and transformation.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing is we can all be mirrors for each other. We can all practice reflecting back to others their goodness, their strengths, their unique gifts. It can be as simple as offering a genuine compliment, expressing appreciation for someone's kindness, or simply acknowledging their presence and listening with an open heart.
It's about shifting our focus from what we don't like or what we want to change to what we appreciate and admire. And those small acts of recognition can have a ripple effect, creating a more positive and supportive environment for everyone. It's a beautiful reminder that compassion is contagious, and that by consciously choosing to see the good in others, we contribute to a more loving and interconnected world.
Now, remember those 4 remembrances we talked about at the beginning?
Yes.
They're like guiding principles for integrating this radical compassion into our everyday lives.
Good.
And one of them, turned toward love, speaks directly to this power of mirroring.
Right. It's about choosing love over fear, connection over separation, and understanding over judgment. It's about recognizing that shared humanity that unites us all,
Yeah.
even in the midst of our differences.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that love is not just a feeling. It's a way of being, a conscious choice we can make in every moment.
Yes.
We can choose to see the world through the lens of love, to look for the good in others, and to offer kindness and compassion even when it's challenging.
This reminds me of another one of the 4 remembrances, say yes to what's here.
Yes.
It's about embracing the fullness of our experience, including the difficult emotions and challenges.
And sometimes saying yes to what's here means saying yes to those parts of ourselves that we'd rather push away. Our anger, our fear, our sadness.
Yeah.
It means acknowledging those emotions,
Yeah.
allowing them to be present without judgment, and investigating them with curiosity and compassion.
It's like extending that same radical compassion inward,
Yes.
embracing all parts of ourselves, even the messy and imperfect ones.
And as we learn to embrace our own wholeness, we become more capable of embracing the wholeness of others.
It's like we're expanding our capacity for love, both for ourselves and for the world around us. And in doing so, we contribute to creating a more compassionate, just, and harmonious reality.
It's a beautiful vision, isn't it? A world where we meet ourselves and each other with that kind of radical acceptance.
It really is. And I think that's the heart of what Brach is trying to convey in this book.
Yeah.
It's not about becoming some perfectly compassionate being,
Right.
but about recognizing that capacity for love and understanding that already exists within us.
She's inviting us to remember who we truly are.
And one of the tools she offers for that remembering is mindfulness. You know, we've danced around the idea of mindfulness throughout this whole deep dive, but I'd love to hear your take on how it connects to radical compassion.
Mindfulness is about waking up to the present moment, right? Paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment.
Okay.
And that awareness is the foundation for compassion because it allows us to see ourselves and others with clarity and understanding.
It's like we're stepping out of the trance of our habitual patterns and reactions and into this space of spacious awareness.
Exactly.
And from that space, we can choose how to respond rather than simply reacting.
And that choice is where compassion comes in. When we're mindful, we're more likely to notice the suffering in ourselves and others. We're more attuned to the needs of the moment. And we're more likely to respond with kindness, care, and understanding.
This makes me think of another one of the four remembrances, pause for presence.
Oh, it's such a powerful one.
It's that simple act of slowing down, taking a breath, and connecting with the present moment.
It's such a powerful practice, and it doesn't require any special skills or techniques.
Right.
We can pause for presence anytime, anywhere.
Totally. We can take a few conscious breaths while waiting in line at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Feel the sensations of our feet on the ground while walking.
Yeah.
Or simply tune into the sounds around us.
It's about interrupting that autopilot mode and bringing our attention to the here and now. And when we do that, even for a few moments, it can create such a shift in our perspective.
Totally. It allows us to step out of that trance of our worries and our to-do list and connect with the richness and aliveness of the present moment. And that connection is the fertile ground for compassion to blossom.
Beautifully said. And I think that's where the final remembrance comes in, rest and awareness. It's about recognizing that we are more than our thoughts, emotions, and sensations. There's a deeper dimension of being a ground of awareness that is always present,
Yeah.
offering us a sense of peace and stability.
Like that stillness that's always there.
Exactly. Brach encourages us to cultivate this awareness through mindfulness practices like meditation. We can also access this stillness and spaciousness in everyday moments.
Like it might be a moment of quiet reflection in nature, a pause to appreciate the beauty of a work of art, or simply a moment of gratitude for the simple things in life.
It's about remembering that amidst the busyness and chaos of life, there's always a place of stillness and peace within us.
I love that. And that connection to our own inner stillness can be a source of strength and resilience, allowing us to navigate the challenges of life with more grace and ease.
And as we cultivate that inner stillness, it naturally spills over into our interactions with others.
All right, we become more patient, more understanding, more compassionate, become more like that golden Buddha, shining brightly even when surrounded by the challenges and difficulties of life.
It's a beautiful way to put it. It reminds us that radical compassion is not about striving to become something we're not. It's about uncovering and embracing the goodness that's already within us.
It's about remembering who you truly are. And as we remember, we naturally extend that same love and understanding to others. That ripple effect that starts within each of us and extends outwards, touching and transforming the world around us.
I hope you found this exploration as insightful and inspiring as I have.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to invite you to reflect on what resonated most deeply with you.
What practices or insights are you inspired to integrate into your own life?
What small acts of kindness can you offer to yourself and to others today?
How can you cultivate a more compassionate and interconnected world one interaction, one moment at a time.
Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Every step we take towards greater compassion is a step towards a brighter, more loving, and more harmonious future.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you'll continue to explore the power of radical compassion to transform your life and the world around you.